Hey guys, and welcome back to the Outer Rim. I'm Gabe Green, and today, with the help of one of my Outer Rim admins, we'll be talking about the latest episode of The Bad Batch. And this week, it is my also my fellow podcast host, James Hamrick. What's up, man?
Nothing much. What's going on?
Sleep deprived, but otherwise great.
Well,
So
how it goes.
today it is episode 13 called Infested. But if you would rather listen to the audio version of this review instead of staring at us, you can go over to our podcast feed, Franchise Fatigue Podcast, where James and I talk about awesome franchises. And you should also listen to that podcast because it's awesome. But you can listen to the audio over there at Franchise Fatigue. But back to this episode, as I said, it is episode 13, Infested. It is written by Amanda Rose Munoz. She wrote the previous episode, Decommissioned, which where we ran into the Martez sisters again. Good episode. And it's directed by Saul Ruiz. And in this one, the Bad Batch returns from another successful mission to find that Sid has been run out of her business by a new wannabe crime boss by the name of Roland Durand. They don't take kindly to this and take it upon themselves to sabotage Durand's upcoming deal with the extremely uptight Pike Crime Syndicate. They do so, and Durand's little empire comes crashing down, leaving Sid once again on top of the Ord Mantell Skullduggery Club. So, James, what did you think about this one?
I liked it. I thought it was a fun little, mostly contained adventure. Involved Sid a little bit more as a character, but it was just hey, here's a little fun thing they did.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan when I saw it Thursday night, but I did enjoy it more this time. Unlike pretty much, I feel like I'm always on the other side of whatever the popular conversation is with these Star Wars shows. Like everyone's, filler. I'm like, yeah, I like these mission episodes. I like when it's just sitting, hanging out with this crew doing different things. So that's not a problem for me at all. This one this one definitely is on the lower end for me. I think we'll talk about some of the positives, but let's start with that. I think my big takeaway with this episode, that the reason I think I didn't really connect with it at first, and I still have some hesitations, is that I think it feels a little incomplete. Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of movement happening and a lot of stuff introduced, but every element introduced just feels kind of surface level. Like a series of things happens and it's over. It's like, okay, that happened. But I think there's a lot of cool things they're introducing in this episode that if given time, like I think this could have made a really good two-parter. And to just have a bit more with the Pikes, have a bit more with Roland Durand, have a bit more with the creepy, crazy bug things. Like just allow and it's there's a heist happening. There's warring factions of different crime syndicates trying to undermine each other, and like I think there's room for a lot of just fun thriller heist aspects, and it all just kind of happens so easily, and it's over, and that's all right.
Yeah, my big, you may notice my cat jumping around in the background, just in case you were wondering what that black blur was. I think the issue I had, the issue I had with it, and the thought that I had when it ended was that was all a bit easy. That was, for something high stakes, that felt really low stakes. It felt to me like maybe a season 1 episode of Rebels, or even maybe kind of like a Resistance-y, where it's like, here's this, I'm here, I'm bad, I'm taking over, what's going on? They hype him up, and then they're like, yeah, but he's also making deals with the Pikes, and you do not want to mess with that. It's like we're dealing with bad people. We're dealing with crime organizations and heads and like people with scary reputations and stuff. And like we're just like, oh, we'll go and we'll steal from him, and then he tracks the other people and is like, oh man, go get those people who stole from me. Yeah. And the Pikes show up and they're like, what? Well, if y'all get back what y'all stole, we'll be cool, I guess. It's like, what?
I have a head canon because let's talk about the ending. It was funny. Like, why are they mad at Roland? Like, he tried to do everything right. He was trying. The Bad Batch, who you say, oh, we're cool now, they're the ones who messed everything up. But I'm wondering, what if they know full well if they mess with the Bad Batch, people are going to end up dead, and they're outnumbered, so it's probably going to be them. So they're going to just use Roland, who they don't care about. They're going to bring him there and chop off his horn, essentially not as a message to him, but as a message to the Bad Batch. Like, if you don't cross us again, but we don't want to fight right now, so we're just if we cut off Hunter's finger, someone's going to die. But we'll just cut off this guy. It's a message. We all get it. But it's all for next time. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that would work maybe more if the reputation, if part of the season so far, like an idea that we'd see more would be like a growing reputation for the Bad Batch. But I don't feel like that's necessarily been like a running theme for
they look like tough customers, and there's only 3 Pikes. So.
For sure. But like, it's just, I mean, they are still Pikes. Like they've got the Pikes behind them. And they even said, like, think about Roland's like lineage. Think about who he's connected with. Like, he's got this big organization behind him as well. And so it felt weird for them to be, and even then, like, it wasn't like, I felt like the ending was kind of a cake and eat it too, where like it's low stakes and that he doesn't get killed, but they walk away thinking like, our bad A reputation is still like fully intact. And it's like, I don't know, everybody just seems to kind of like be able to do, well, see y'all later. For as many different, like with as many different motivations and powers in play, it felt like too many people got ripped off and too much didn't go according to plan for everybody to just kind of like walk away like, da 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 da.
Yeah, that's just my headcanon to make it work.
Well, for sure, and I'm all about that. I'm all about like, I will make you work because I want you to work with Star Wars. But it was, I guess that was my biggest thing, is, and why it kind of, as somebody who's not the biggest fan of Resistance, that was like the thing that most negatively stuck out to me of the things that didn't work, was just like we got to walk away without enough to do. Because like this is the Clone Wars, this gets to get away with what that show got away with. So like,
yeah, when Ahsoka ran into them, it caused a bit more trouble.
Yeah,
and 2 episodes of filler, but let's move on. Yeah, so maybe come back, and since and this is another element where I think we could have used more time, is just what happened with Roland coming up and taking over the crime world and driving Sid out. Like, I want to see some interactions and whatever kind of scheming happened and threatening. And again,
because it is the Clone Wars, I'm like, whenever the show does do that, I get really into it. Like, yeah. I love Crime Syndicate episodes across the show. But the cat's fine. But like, I love watching Dave Filoni play around with the underworld, like this is whenever we get all like the crime political maneuvering and stuff.
Yeah, particularly the Darth Maul arc.
And so it would have been, like you said, we show up, like they're going one mission, we show up and it's like, oh, this place is under new management, and we kind of have this little bitty like, we stole this thing and we got the Pikes off your back. Episode's over.
Yeah, I like how Sid ropes them into helping. If I lose, you lose. Don't forget how good I am at keeping secrets. I believe she's threatening us.
Fast one, aren't you?
Yeah. But I also like that there seems to be a genuine mutual affection between Sid and Omega. I mean, everyone likes Omega. There's no one who doesn't. Like, even deep down in his heart, Cad Bane likes Omega. But yeah. And Omega's going to get them in trouble at some point by just volunteering them for every single time someone in the galaxy gets into trouble.
But it's what makes her great. I'm so happy that we're like approaching the end of the season. I'm like, man, Omega is still dope. And that's something that I do really like. And was started in earlier episodes, was this kind of like mutual respect between Omega and Sid, and the fact that like there's like I think she's even like growing to like the Bad Batch, and she's not above being like, hey, I know things, I could say things. And it's a funny line that they're walking that I think mostly works, where she's like, she's able to both like be like, I'm pretty good at keeping, like, just overtly threatening them, while also being like, yeah, me and Omega are pretty chummy. We're on good terms. Like, it's a fun dynamic, I think.
Speaking of the being on good terms, at the end, she's like, oh, drinks on me. And then Tech, Echo, and Wrecker like run off like little kids. I love them.
It's good. Fun vibes.
Yeah, then we get the sequence through the caves, which I think both sequences were just way too short, and my guess is probably for animation reasons. Like, it can't be cheap to animate thousands of complicated flying insects.
Sequences look incredible to me. Like, the way the camera moved, the lighting down there, the
sound design is fantastic.
They're just different shots where like the camera's low, the sound design is amazing, but like with shots where we're kind of down in the cart, and then we pull up as he brings the gun up, and then we see the cart kind of turning the corner, like the cart that we're about to try to ram, turning the corner and stuff. Like, it just looks weighty and physical and like really tangible. I just, all of those cart scenes to me just look really like Indiana Jones style. Like, there's a real level of grit and danger to it, and there's something about the way the camera felt heavier before. Like, it felt like there was a physicality to it, like they were really down there trying to maneuver with it and stuff.
Yeah, and just mine carts make everything better. It's just science. If you want to make your show or movie better, put in a mine cart sequence. And they're just going through the tension and atmosphere. Got a lot of Mines of Moria vibes.
I was about to say, I audibly said "Fool of a Toque" at the end. So
fool of a clone. Just the drums in the deep. You just hear the screeching down from deep in the earth. It's just it's a very
the spider web effects were really cool. I felt like it felt just kind of like gross. Like you just breathe and you inhale all sorts of nastiness.
Yeah, but like the actual sequences of them coming out, like what is it? Like maybe a minute or two total of, and it's like it's scary. Like the feeling of thousands of insects flying around your head is deeply unnerving. Like, just Wrecker screams. He's like firing randomly in every direction, but they all just kind of they just really end abruptly. Like, I wish they'd do a bit more of a sequence. Do
a trapped and having to escape kind of thing, because it's called Infested, right? Is the name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really playing up the bug. Well, also the infestation is it's a double meaning. The infestation.
Well, yeah.
Durand.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I think that was another thing that maybe felt easy, was like the trip down to get it. Both the first and second times felt pretty quick. Like we're kind of in and out. And I would have liked, I don't know, spend a bigger portion. I mean, it's why I agree with you when you're saying like this would have been a good two-parter, because I can't have both of the things that I want at the same time, because I want more of how he got there. I want more of his backstory and the power behind him. Yeah. And just the situation there. So I want more on the surface, but I also would have liked to have felt like I'm kind of trapped there longer. Like, because I never really got a sense of being trapped. I just got like, ooh, this place is creepy. We should get out real fast.
And like, just give us a bit more time to stew under like the doom of the Pikes. Like this is serious. Like, we have to go and probably die fighting the bugs, because if we don't die fighting the bugs, we're definitely going to die because the Pikes are going to kill us. But speaking of Durand, I think there's a scene of a really interesting character there. Like, he feels like someone like with like the soul of a poet who's forced into this life of crime because of family expectations, and he just doesn't care, but he's got to keep up the front, and like just how kind of lackadaisical and depressed he is all the time. It's it's like, whatever, I guess I'll be going, and whatever, see you guys. It's just like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, it feels like he's like, I like that idea that he's attempting to make something noble about what he's doing. That he's like, oh, we can be dignified criminals, but it doesn't feel like that's his natural state. Like, that his goal is to be a dignified, respected criminal. It's like you have the sense that he he may have other personal desires and would not at all be in this situation were it not for his family. But if he's going to be here, he's going to elevate it. And so whenever he can't do that, he just gets super bummed about it.
Yeah. And then despite you were talking about how the Pikes seem to let people off pretty easy, I do like how they're shown here. Particularly their first scene with Durand, where they just kind of storm in, and when they threaten him, and like him and all his guards drop their weapons and they don't even acknowledge it, they just keep threatening.
And that it's not just a threat of him, it's him and his family. Like that's where they go to.
Yeah, and the actor Liam O'Brien, I gotta give some props to him. He reads those threatening lines really well. Just the presence and like what it says about them, that they're way outnumbered. Everyone has guns in their faces, and they just keep talking, keep threatening. Like it's just good world building as far as like who these people are and what they mean. That was fun. Anything else you wanted to mention about this?
I guess last thing. So I'm hoping that this isn't the biggest, most centered on Sid episode that we have, because I still am interested in her character and I want more from her. And like, despite the fact that she was more involved in this episode than in most episodes, it still didn't feel like we continued to, it didn't feel like a deeper, like, oh, okay, I'm really getting a feel for you as a person. Like I like her growing relationship with Omega and this kind of like this tenuous mutual respect that she and the Batch have for each other. But I'm like, I love it whenever these shows do that, of like this is so and so's episode and this is really where we find out more about them. And I'm hoping that this wasn't the show's version of that there's still more to the character.
We go back to Trandosha and meet her parents or something.
Yeah, find out they had some sort of tragic death or something. I don't know. You got to give them a tragic death.
I mean, I'm all here for more Sid. Do you get the feeling that they're setting up a season 2? Like they're like with how Durand comes in, it feels like he's a character that's going to come back at some point.
Yeah, I've been very unclear, and I don't know if there's been any word on this, because I'm still unclear as to whether this is a limited series or if it's a new show, like they're planning on more from. But I got that because it's carrying itself like Clone Wars and Rebels. Like it's feeling. It's not feeling like it's here's our one story, because I think if it had a much stronger forward moving plot, then I'd be like, oh, I could see this being a one and done. But like, because we have bottle episodes, because we have filler episodes, because we have just mission of the week, like it feels like it's growing its own part of the galaxy for future seasons. Yeah, instead of like this is this season's story. Like it'd be weird if it was one and done. This would be a weird season, I think.
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting tendrils they're setting up, particularly with connections to like the early Resistance, that I don't feel they can fully pay off in just 3 more episodes. Along with all Crosshair, Omega's destiny, and like there's
Omega alone to me leads me to think, and I was thinking about this before, because sometimes whenever I've really been enjoying the show, and I'm wondering like, when is it going to make that next step to like peak of Rebels, peak of Clone Wars kind of thing? And who do they have here that could, what character could they play with that could get to the level of like a Kanan and Ezra and Hera and Ahsoka, like and I feel like if there's a character, it could be Omega. Wrecker's gonna just have this Shakespearean arc next season. But yeah, I feel like Omega, there's, because of the fact that we're this far in, and I still just like, she's such a fun character and I'm very much like invested in her. I feel like, Ahsoka was just, I mean, if anything, Ahsoka was much less well received, and she was just kind of a fun little wrinkle to the dynamic at first, and then I'm like crying in season 5. And so I feel like there's potential for this show and her and where she fits in with the Batch. Like there's potential for it to really go places in future seasons.
Yeah, that's my one big concern, hesitation, curiosity regarding this going forward is like, yeah, like I really enjoy the Bad Batch. Just one little great moment here is like when the Pike said, the girl has to stay, and instantly every one of them drew. And like that kind of dynamic. I love these meatheads, but I don't know that they're not there yet as far as like Rebels. We have every single one of the crew of Rebels had in interiority and an arc they were going through, and then they had 2 or 3 characters that were just mind-blowingly good. Omega's great, but the rest of the Bad Batch has so far aren't on that level. So like for a season 2, I've enjoyed all the mission episodes, but usually with a show that's very episodic, you want a really strong cast that like you just want to spend time with the cast. The episodes are an excuse for that. So I think either in order to have a season 2, I think they'd have to really double down hard on the drama and give us probably a really serialized story just to justify, get into the emotion. Because I love what we have this season 1. I don't know that this episodic format could sustain a season 2 without getting much deeper into who these people are.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But I think like I share in all those concerns, but I really do think that there's potential. There's decent, like they already get to piggyback off of the fact that like we like the Batch, like they're fun guys, and Omega's great, and so there's a foundation there for them to do something cool. I hope that going forward it isn't just more mission of the week with the same kind of fun dynamic, because that I don't know how sustainable that is.
Yeah. All right, well, on that bright cheery note,
optimistic. I think they're gonna do it.
Yeah, I hope so. And if it's just season 1, this was a good trip. All right, so that is all for this week. Obviously like this video, subscribe to the channel. Also join us over in the Outer Rim, a Star Wars group on Facebook. It's a dedicated to positive and constructive Star Wars discussion like this, or usually mostly positive.
Positive and constructive. If you're going to be negative, be constructive.
Absolutely. Also check out our podcast, Franchise Fatigue. We're talking about the Harry Potter series. And we will be back next week with episode 13. This thing's almost over. All right. See you guys.